To remove the access panel, first remove the two Torx head screws at the rear of the panel that connect the panel to the PC. Grasp the handle on the panel and pull towards the back of the PC to release the panel. Pull the panel away from the PC. The access panel has several tabs on its top, bottom, and leading edges, which fit into slots and over the front lip of the PC. To replace the panel, align the tabs on the panel over the corresponding slots on the PC, then slide the panel forward to lock it into position. Reattach the two Torx head screws to secure the panel to the PC. To remove the main bezel, first remove the access panel. Unlatch the three side tabs of the main bezel. And rotate the bezel away from the PC. The main bezel has three tabs on each side. Which fit into 6 slots on the PC. To replace the main bezel, align the tabs on the right side of the bezel into the slots on the PC, then rotate the bezel into position. Snap it firmly into place. To remove the hard drive, first remove the access panel. Disconnect the power and data connectors from the drive. Pull out on the green drive release latch and slide the hard drive out of the bay. If the drive is a 3.5-inch drive, remove the 4 Torx head guide screws from the sides of the 3.5-inch drive and hold them aside. If the drive is a 2.5-inch drive, use a slender-barreled screwdriver to remove the 4 black Torx head screws that secure the drive to the drive carrier. Remove the 2.5-inch drive from the carrier. If installing a new 2.5-inch hard drive, place the drive in the drive carrier and secure with its 4 Torx head screws. Make sure the carrier has its 4 guide screws installed on the sides of the carrier. If installing a new 3.5-inch hard drive, install the 4 Torx head guide screws on the sides of the new drive. Additional guide screws can be found at the side of the hard drive bay inside the PC for an expansion hard drive. The guide screws on the drive or drive carrier slide into slots on the hard drive bays. To install a hard drive, slide the guide screws on the drive or drive carrier into the hard drive bay slots with the drive spindle side up until the drive or drive carrier snaps into place. Connect the power and data connectors to the hard drive. To remove the optical drive, first remove the access panel. Detach the power and data cables from the back of the drive. Push up on the green drive release latch at the bottom of the drive and slide the drive out the front of the drive bay. Pull the green drive release latch off of the optical drive. To replace the optical drive, first attach the green drive release latch to the drive. There are 2 small pins on the latch that fit into two small holes on the side of the optical drive. Press the pins into their holes to secure the latch. Slide the drive into its bay through the front of the PC until the green release latch snaps into place. Replace the power and data connectors to the drive. To remove the SD card reader, if present in the unit, first remove the access panel and the main bezel. Detach the SD card reader connector from the motherboard. Free the connector from the cable guide on the side wall of the PC. Detach the Torx head screw securing the SD card reader to the front of the unit. Press down on the tab at the top of the reader to release the card reader and pull the reader out the front of the unit. There are two small holes at the bottom front of the SD card reader that fit over locator pegs on the front of the PC. To replace an SD card reader, feed its connector in through the front chassis cutout for the reader. Slide the reader into the cutout until the holes align over their pegs. Secure the reader to the front of the unit with its Torx head screw. Route the card reader connector into the cable guide on the side wall of the PC. Reattach the SD card reader to the motherboard. To replace system memory, first remove the access panel. Simultaneously push down on the clips on either side of the DDR4 DIMM socket to release the memory module. Carefully pull out the memory module. There is one notch on the bottom of every DDR4 DIMM module, offset from the center, that fits over a tab on the DDR4 DIMM memory socket. When installing DDR4 DIMMs, align the notch on the module with the tab in the socket. Press the module into the socket until the clips on both sides of the socket lock into place. To remove the combined front I/O panel and power switch, first remove the access panel and the main bezel. Detach the front I/O and power switch connectors from the motherboard. Free the connectors from the cable guide on the side wall of the PC. Detach the Torx head screw securing the front I/O and power switch to the front of the unit. Press down on the tab at the top of the power switch to release the front I/O and power switch. Pull the top and then bottom of the power switch into and then out of the unit. The combined front I/O and power switch has a tab at the bottom front edge that fits over the bottom notch of the cutout for the front I/O on the PC. To reinstall the front I/O panel and power switch, align the bottom tab of the front I/O panel over the notch inside the unit. Then swing and press the top into place until the tab at the top of the power switch snaps into place. Secure the front I/O panel and power switch with its Torx head screw. Secure the connectors for the front I/O and power switch into their cable guide on the side wall of the PC. Reattach the connectors that run from the front I/O panel to the motherboard. To remove the heatsink, first remove the access panel. Detach the heatsink connector to the motherboard. Loosen the 4 captured Torx head screws for the heatsink. And gently pull the heatsink out of the PC. Before replacing the heatsink into the system, first clean off the old thermal grease from the microprocessor. As well as from the heatsink. Apply new thermal grease or a thermal pad to the microprocessor. Align the 4 screws of the heatsink over the 4 screw holes on the motherboard. Tighten the 4 Torx head heatsink screws. Replace the heatsink connector to the motherboard. CMOS factory settings should be restored as a first step before replacing the system motherboard. To restore CMOS factory settings, first remove the access panel. Remove the graphics card. Remove the battery from the motherboard. Wait 30 seconds. Replace the battery to the motherboard. CMOS factory settings are now reset. Note that you will now need to enter System BIOS and reset the clock in BIOS after this procedure. To remove the CPU, first remove the access panel and the heatsink. Press down to release the CPU load lever from its retention tab, and pull the load lever and load plate away from the socket. Identify pin 1 on the socket by the mark on the corner of the socket stencil. Line up the pin 1 corner of the Intel CPU removal replacement tool over the socket. Press down on the plunger of the removal tool to pick up the CPU from the socket and remove the tool and the CPU from the motherboard. To replace the CPU, first identify pin 1 position on the microprocessor by noting the yellow mark on the corner of the chip assembly. Make sure the Intel CPU staging tool side pins are set to the correct socket type for the CPU. For this unit, it is LGA1151. Place the CPU into the Intel CPU staging tool. When correctly inserted, the small notches on the side of the CPU should align over the side pins on the staging tool. Place the removal replacement tool over the stage, lining up the pin 1 triangles on each tool. Press down on the removal replacement tool to pick the CPU up from the stage. Align the removal replacement tool again to pin 1 on the motherboard CPU socket. Press the plunger on the removal replacement tool to release the CPU into the socket. Swing the load plate down. Lock the load lever under its retaining tab to secure the microprocessor into place.